For people who want to know what is the KeithAndrewNetwork, the whole point of my talk show is to show you that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be, so prove them and still amount to something.
Hi there, I'm Arianna Fox, and I've just been interviewed by Keith Andrew. Oh my goodness, this has been such an incredible interview, and I'm so excited to continue it. I love what he's doing, and it really is a marvelous thing, for getting awareness out there, and also just for interviewing people such as myself. It is such an honor, so I'm so excited to be back on.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Keith Andrew Network. It is episode 936. That's right, 936. Today we have upcoming professional actress Arianna Fox. Just want to say thank you for being with us and welcome to the Keith Andrew Network and the Keith Andrew Network family.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited and honored to be on.
No, absolutely. So the first question I want to ask you is tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Definitely. So I do many things. I wear many hats, including this one. I am a girl entrepreneur. I'm a motivational speaker, actress, voiceover talent, teen influencer, and a best-selling triple published author as well. And I do many other things, but I also am bilingual in English and Spanish. So yeah.
No, absolutely. Now I'm going to start off with, you mentioned you are a book author. How many books have you written, and have you published any?
Great question. So the three books that I have written and published are three. The first one is The Princess Chronicles, and that's a children's book. It's about sort of these princesses who are learning kindness, friendship, forgiveness, all those important qualities. The second one that I published is the one that's an Amazon best-selling novel, and it's called False Awakening. So it's a sci-fi young adult / teen novel about a man who's in a dream within a dream within a dream, and he joins a rebellion to fight against an evil tyrant. And the third one is called Saber Black, and it's like a teen young adult also, but it's a sci-fi / fantasy, more on the fantasy side, about these characters with wings, and the main character has to find her place and figure out where she is, if she's with the good guys or the bad guys or what, tradition versus what she knows is right. So yeah, those are the three that have been published, but I have written so many other stories, short stories, countless things just for fun. But yeah, those are the three published works.
Well, I have some great ideas I'd like to talk to you about off the air, but one of the questions I want to ask you is, have you ever thought about ghostwriting?
That is a very good question. I have thought about it before. Ghostwriting is a really, really interesting subject. It's something that I would definitely like to think about more. Right now, because I'm doing so many things, there's just something about writing your own characters and your own, storylines and worlds and stuff, and you really fall in love with them. Ghostwriting it's less of I think for me at least, it's less of a passion and more of a job. If I were to do it, then obviously I'd love, to be hired to, but it also depends, and it depends on the subject, and it depends on what it is. So right now I'm not doing any ghostwriting, but but I definitely would be thinking about it in the future.
Well, hypothetically throwing a curveball at you, would you be interested in writing my story? And you can say yes or no.
Well, it depends on the story. That's the answer. What's it about?
Well, for me, it's pretty much making a statement of disabilities, showing you that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. It's pretty much how I started my talk show, reaching 1,000 episodes, interviewing so many people. For me, I'm not a storyteller, so I don't think it will be good for me, because I tried writing a book. It was a complete failure. So I'm looking for people like, you know what, I want someone who's a storyteller to actually write my book for me. So, just throwing the idea out if you're ever interested.
Yeah, I would definitely love to have a further conversation about that, especially I love that subject. And I think, it really does depend. I would love to tell stories, but I also at the same time I think it would be very beneficial that even the person who does end up writing for you may have a disability of their own as well, so they can really tell it the way they should. I think so. I really think it does depend, but I would love to have a continual conversation.
No,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And now I'm looking at your profile. You also mentioned you were a public speaker. Who influenced? Most of these questions are going to sound similar in the beginning. So, going back to your writing, who influenced you to become a best-selling author, and who do you admire to be like?
Both the answer to both of those is actually the same answer. It's my parents, and they are incredible and supportive in every way imaginable. When I was younger, around 4 to 5 years old, I told them once in my little kid voice, speaking of voiceovers, I was like, "I want to be an author when I grow up, yay!" And my parents were like, "That's wonderful, but why when you grow up? Why wait? Why not start now? Why not start writing right now instead of waiting way later when who knows, you may not even get the chance later, right?" And so really that totally inspired me to start getting into writing. So that was when I wrote the children's book around age 4 to 5, maybe around age 6 when I wrote the Princess Chronicles, and it took years to get it published because of the illustrations. We were looking for different illustrations, different people who could do them. But with that being said, yeah, those are definitely, my parents are definitely the inspiration for all the things that I do. And they are the people that I also want to be most like in the world, because they are kind and wonderful, but also in so many ways they have this work hard mentality and mindset. And that's one of the most important things, is to really continue to work hard and not just feel entitled, about what you have.
Speaking of being, sorry about that. I had a brain fart. Speaking of being
No worries.
entitled, a lot of people say that about millennials.
That's true.
Unfortunately, I fall under that category. But instead of having things handed to me, I always say I will prove to myself. I'll give you an example I mean by having things handed to me. When I was your age, now I feel old, thank you. Now, when I was your age, I always had, a WWF wrestling belt. And even if when I was in high school, I had, John Cena had one of those, the W. Are you a wrestling fan?
Not a fan particularly, but I definitely have heard a few names here and there.
Hey, so it's John Cena back in 2005, 2006. They redid the WWF Championship, and for some stupid reason, they made it spin. So for me, the school I went to was MW, so it was funny because when you spin the W, it would come up. I'm just looking at my reflection. These headphones, I don't have a solid background, so these headphones really annoy me. Anyway, a green screen is in the process. Definitely going to
Yeah.
get the green screen at some point. Not the point what I wanted to make. John Cena had the spinning belt, and if you turn the W upside down to an M, so it's like, oh, MW. So it's
Mm.
for me, I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. I walk around, I'm the champ, blah blah blah. But at the same time, I'm like, this is stupid. I'm not a WWE champion. I'm not a wrestler. So I want something that means something to me. My brother likes to poke fun. It's like, well, you created yourself a wrestling belt. It is and it isn't a wrestling belt. Yes, it is a wrestling belt, but what is special about the championship, it's 9 years, and this is actually I want to talk to you about off the air too. This June 10th at 8 p.m., it will be my 9 year anniversary. And that belt, instead of having a little trophies like, here's a trophy, season one, or you buy something else, season two, I want something very particular, something that's very nice that commemorates all 9 years of my struggle of being a podcaster and a talk show host for people with disabilities. So I went to Undisputed Championships and make great belts, by the way. Go to Undisputed Championship belts. They should really give me a promo where I get to 10% for that. You can make
Yeah.
any belt you want. So like a Barbie champion, you know, one of those video game championships. They make any belts. So I'm like, okay, let's turn the Keith Andrew Network into a championship belt. So that's
Nice.
my belt. I did it 2 times. The first one fell apart. I can show you
Oh.
afterwards. And I have the second one that's in the main video. And this belt, I bring it to meet and greets. I asked, the celebrities. I met, let's see, who did I make? I met Sean Aspen. I met, let's see, I'm having a blank. I met 2 people from Lord of the Rings. I
Nice.
met one person, 2 people from Dragon Ball. I met Pee Wee Herman. But what it's funny about meeting them is they're holding the championship belt, and you can see that in the beginning of the video. Each celebrity that I met, they hold the belt. I don't want to say, okay, here's my belt. Can I take a picture? No, I want you to hold the belt because by you holding the belt, you're showing people you support people with disabilities. And
Mm.
you can't do that with the WWE belt because one thing my brother likes to joke like wrestlers get crazy when wrestling fans bring replica belts. Like, oh, if you bring it to a show, they can fight you for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I, I don't like saying, you know what I mean. You don't want to give yourself something that you didn't deserve. Especially with your acting, being a book writer. I bet you probably got yourself a trophy. By the way, that's crowns.com. Crowns make beautiful trophies. They should really be sponsors of mine. If you're like wrestling belts, undisputed championships. If you want a trophy, go to crowns.com. All
Nice.
that will be in the description if you're interested. And what about you? If everything that you accomplish, do you sometimes feel like, you know what, I want to make something small? But even if it's small, by looking at it, it commemorates everything that you did. You are an actress, you do voiceovers, you're a book writer. Do you have anything that inspires you?
That's a great question and a very unique one as well. I do. I have a lot of things that inspire me. I'm not one of those people myself who, I think to myself, oh, I did this. I want to pat myself on the back and give myself a trophy. I don't like, that for
Yeah.
myself. I always try to stay humble. But my parents, though, they're very supportive and they're always trying to think of little things to give as that sort of commemoration, like you're talking about. So, of course, I've gotten several awards for many different things. I've gotten a lot of awards for writing, for being a CEO at a young age, and all that kind of stuff. But I would definitely say my parents have gotten me a lot of things where if I just look at them, I think, wow, I've come so far. And one of the examples is actually this one. The character from the third book that I was telling you about, Saber Black, she's the main character. Her name is Saber Black, and she's a character who has black wings. She's called a Sendar, and she has this really cool white robe and everything. And I think I might actually have her somewhere around here. But my parents actually got me a stuffed plushy version of Saber Black, and it was just every time. And they also got me a sword, a foam sword, and a real one actually that looks like the kind that she wields in the book. And so every time I look at these things, I think, wow, I've come so far. And especially even during the times when I was writing the book, I would look at those things and I'd just be like, yeah, that's my inspiration to keep going. And I'd keep typing. But especially now that I've finished Saber Black and that I've published it, I really feel like, whenever I look at these things, I think this really signifies, how far I've come in my life and in my, journey. And it's a continual journey. You keep on going. You never just stop at a certain point. And that's one of the things about language learning as well. When I was learning Spanish, that's one of the biggest things is remembering that it's a journey. It's not you get here, you get there, and you're focusing only on the destination. It is not like that in the slightest. And the reason why is because, when you're learning a language or when you're doing anything entrepreneurial, voiceovers, anything of that sort, then it's not about, I'm fluent. I made it. Yeah. It's not like that. It's like, okay, I'm learning little by little. I'm learning more. Okay, now I can say that I'm fluent, but do I stop learning? No, I keep learning, So I think that's definitely the things you're referring to are definitely good reminders of that.
No, absolutely. Now, the other question I want to ask you is about disabilities. With that being said, besides me, obviously, have you worked with people with disabilities? And for people with disabilities who want to follow in your footsteps, what are your words of wisdom?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I have worked with a lot of people with disabilities. I think that this is rather unfortunate, but a lot of the people whom I've worked with in the past who do, they're not very vocal about it. They don't really talk about it a lot. And so sometimes it leads me to wonder, okay, do they or do they not? Because I don't want to ask, I don't want to pry or anything. And so I feel like probably I've worked with a lot more than I think I have, but it's just not a lot of people get and that's why I love what you're doing, getting the awareness out there for people and that learning that it's not a shameful thing to say, that it's a great thing. And so I think that that's definitely, that's one thing. And then some advice and inspiration for those of you who have disabilities. I can't speak in that realm as I don't, and so I'm not going to get into that realm, but I will say that, don't let other people, try to define you or even your disabilities, to be honest with you. Don't let those define you. You can still do so much more. I've watched so many like videos and testimonials about people who have had, literally their arms, they have no arms and no legs, and they're still doing amazing things. I mean, think about revolutionary Helen Keller. She's both deaf and blind, and she wrote books and she spoke to people, and she's just an incredible person and an incredible figure. And so, don't let other people try to bring you down because you're something or you're from this place or you have this disability or anything. Or also don't, let those very things define your limits of what you can and cannot do, because you can do so much more to it if you set your mind to.
No, I agree with you 100%. Now, the other one I want to ask you is social media. Can social media make you or break you? I'm
Oh
looking at
yeah.
your profile right now, and you have people following you 6,207, and you're following 5,337.
It's
Well,
funny.
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what's funny is I actually Instagram really did a number on me, because yesterday I actually lowered it down almost so much to where the 6,000 went below, because it's always important to have the followers count to be more than the following count.
Yeah.
But for some reason today, it's so funny you say this, when I woke up this morning, it reverted back. And I don't know how it did it, but I was so frustrated because I spent literally like an hour or more trying to make it go down. I almost made it go down below, and then it went back. I don't know how that happened,
It
but
was
yes.
probably, and it happens to me on LinkedIn too. I have two LinkedIn's. I have my main one, and I will add you if are you on LinkedIn?
No, I don't think so. No.
I would recommend it. The more recommendations, the better. But I have two accounts. I have my main one and I have my throwaway. And on my throwaway, I would have over 500 plus. And after I'm done talking about them, I would delete, 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 delete. And I'm like, okay, 100 people. That's all I have to talk to now. Those 100 be on the show. And I look back like a day or so later. I'm like, what the hell? How did it get back up to 600?
Yeah, exactly.
But one of those things is, especially on YouTube, where I actually I'm starting to fix the thumbnails, because to get more views, and that's this question I was going to ask you, do the description and the thumbnails is what gets the video most attractive. That's why I sent you from one I made for you. So when I was going back and like, okay, take this picture out, put this one up, I did about like 20 or 30. Google actually said, please verify that you are who you say you are. Because it does verify, make sure someone doesn't hack your account. So it's good that it verifies it. But at the same time, it's kind of like you're fixing it for a reason, but you don't want it to have your work to be messed up.
Yeah.
Can I just fix what I'm doing, then verify it later? But the reason I
Right.
bring up social media is for two reasons. Now, with everything that you accomplish on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and eventually LinkedIn. Off the top of your head, can you tell us how many views or comments that you expect to get?
That's a great question. I'd say it really depends on the post and on the video. I don't a lot of what I do, I don't really focus as much on the video side of things, even though video is very important. I am the daughter of two parents who absolutely are gurus in graphic design websites and everything. We all own a family business that deals with social media and deals with a lot of other things, but social media and higher engagement and everything is all part of that. So we definitely get it. As for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, I don't focus as much on YouTube and the videos because I don't have a lot of time to do that. And I don't have a lot of time to create videos about myself doing things. I guess that's why a lot of people are into TikTok these days, because you can just post these really quick videos. I'm trying, but for me, Instagram is one of the biggest ways that I get engagement. And I could probably, to answer your question, I could probably predict that if I have the right hashtags and the right tags and the right things put in there and keywords and all that, I can probably get at least, I would say, maybe 30 to 80, somewhere in that vicinity of likes, and then definitely a lot of comments, because I know a lot of, actually one interesting tip is that a lot of people in the writing community, they have these things in there that are questions of the day, and you can actually answer them in the comments, which increases the algorithm and increases the reactions and all that kind of stuff. And it makes Instagram think, okay, people like this post. Let's send it out to more, So yeah, no, I definitely do a lot of these things. Some of them are not feasible simply because of how little time I have throughout the day, but some of them are, and I definitely do everything that I can, in making the engagement as good as it can be.
No, I agree. And one thing I didn't see on your list is how have you felt about being a brand ambassador, and would you be one?
That's a very good question. I actually have been a brand ambassador a few times. I have been one in the past for a clothing brand called COL 1972, and I've been ambassadors for a few things before. I feel like it's a very good thing. It's very beneficial. At the same time, there are always pros and cons. There are always pros and cons to things. And so, right now I'm not really I'm not needing to be one. If somebody reaches out with an opportunity saying, hey, Arianna, we have this clothing brand and you are an influencer and we would love to have you be an ambassador and stuff like that, then, I'm like, sure. But, I wouldn't just go, asking people, oh, can I be an ambassador for you? So that's a really good question. I have been in the past, and it was pretty fun. It was pretty good. In fact, actually, on that note, it is very possible that I might be something of the sort in about a month or so for a publishing company. They're about to send me a lot of books, a lot of short pastiches and short stories, and if I basically read them, or at least read most of them, I can give reviews on TikTok, and that'll boost not only my brand but also theirs as well. So it's something of the sort that I'm going to be doing soon.
No, absolutely. And we will definitely do a part two, but you did give me an idea while having you back on the show about finding producers and finding sponsors and actually getting yourself out there. But we can definitely say that for part two. But I want you to be brutally honest. When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what made you say yes? How do you feel now? And would you recommend it to other people out there?
Definitely. So I definitely said yes because I'm always saying yes to people wanting me to be on their podcast or their interviews. I'm always, excited, and sometimes, when I see offers to be on podcasts by certain people, it also depends, because sometimes I'm like, okay, is this legitimate, is it not? And so sometimes even my responses, I'm just like, all right, yes, okay, I'm not as enthusiastic as I usually am, because I'm just still debating or analyzing if this is a real thing or a scam, because you've always got to be careful for that. And so definitely, after, especially like you said here now, I'm definitely a billion times more comfortable, being brutally honest. I'm way more comfortable than just how it was in the text chatting, because I know that this is legitimate. We're interviewing now and it's all good. So I definitely feel comfortable, and I would definitely recommend it for other people, 100%.
Nope, absolutely. What is next on horizon for you, and how can our fans and listeners get in touch with you?
Ooh, a lot. Let's see. So, two of the things relating to my acting side that are really going to be big. One of them is a film that just came out, a feature film sci-fi called The Box in the Basement, and my daddy actually created, directed, produced, wrote literally everything for this movie, and I'm the main character. And it was really, really exciting because this movie, it went from being a short film, actually no, it went from being a short demo just to show my acting ability to then being a short film because many more people were getting involved. And he's like, okay, you know. And then from a short film, we realized that we had almost enough scenes with almost enough time to be able to actually create a full feature film. And so we just ended up doing that. And I definitely think that was incredible, but it actually just came out very recently on Amazon Prime for you guys to check that out. And just yesterday, it came out on Tubi as well. So Tubi TV, and I think pretty soon IMDb TV as well, or something like that. So we're very, very excited. That's one of the biggest things right now. The other thing as well is Wanna Be a Star. You may have seen this in my recent posts. It's a TV family-friendly, sort of faith-based sitcom, and it's incredibly hilarious. And I play one of the characters. It's also directed by my daddy, and created by him and his partner, Marquise Skinner. They're both awesome. And it is just a blast. You should absolutely check it out when episode 1 is already out. Episode 2 will be coming out in a little while. And I think really the last thing that is new on the horizon for me is probably writing related. It is really exciting. It's called the MX Books of New Sherlock Holmes Stories. So I'm not sure how much into like classic literature you are, but I'm a huge fan. I think probably, you know, how you're a fan of wrestling. I think I would say in that same realm, I'm a huge total fan of the Sherlock Holmes books. And so there is, I didn't even realize it until very recently, there is a big fan base out there of people who are fellow Sherlockians, as we call ourselves, apparently. And these people, we're all writers and other people who love not only reading the classics, but also want to continue to keep it alive and replicate it with pastiches, which are kind of like fan fiction, but written in the same style as the author, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And so there's an anthology that just, it was like a sort of a contest. You had to submit your story to this big anthology. And I submitted it last December. And it got accepted. So yay! As well as my daddy's drawing an illustration as well. So with that being said, since my story is in the new MX Books of New Sherlock Holmes Stories, it's going to be coming out this May, at the end of May. And I'm really, really, really excited for that. So keep on the lookout. You'll probably see somewhere in the depths of my post sharing the link to the Kickstarter for it. So, you know, definitely check it out. Be sure to support. Any funds for buying these also go to support a school for, interestingly enough, a school for kids with learning disabilities in Undershaw in England. So it's really, really cool because the money goes there as well. So yeah, very exciting.
No, perfect. Now I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But for everyone who's watching, you know, when I don't do my interviews as a way, hint of the show, you know, I try to put a mask on, like, okay, don't show disabilities, but isn't that what your show's about? But anyway,
right. No, you're exactly right on that. I think that especially with this show, you know, it's really important to, you know, not try too hard to just look a certain way or appear a certain way. Just be natural and be yourself. I think that's very important.
No, I agree. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air, but for everyone who's watching on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, let's see, it's now going to be featured on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. I would say Instagram, but I don't want to knock it down to 15 minutes, maybe eventually, but those 4 websites, you know, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, make sure to like and subscribe to the Keith Andrew Network. It was a real honor and privilege, and I will catch you later. Thank you, and and have a good night.